All right, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We have about 2 hours together, but honestly, the time goes fast. So I want to be mindful of the time we do have together and try to get the most out of these sessions. So I'm very happy to see everybody here, some new faces, some people I'm familiar with. If you haven't met me before, my name is Jessica, and I am going to be leading these sessions for the next month or so. So just to give you all a quick little background about this cohort and what our whole goal is here. With the MVP developer training, we are going to be focusing on a tool called Adalo. And Adalo is a no-code tool that allows you to build apps. And the main reason we love this tool so much is because we have been able to use this very successfully for a lot of different MVP developers, working with founders and being able to build out their MVPs for their apps. So this is not the only tool that we have, and we'll talk a little bit about that in this session, but this is the tool that we're going to be focused on. And this training is also designed to really help those folks that are maybe interested in working with the TechTown program, where we do have those MVP developers, and those developers get matched with founders. In this case, the next cohort that we have coming up for the MVP program at TechTown is going to be in January. So a lot of you that are new to this group, you may have found out about this training because we have a new cohort coming up. So really my goal here is to get you prepared for being able to work with founders, being able to use Adalo and maximize it, get the most out of that platform. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on for these 4 weeks. Okay, so I am recording the sessions, and the session recordings will be available to you. And I should let you know that if there's anyone that you know that maybe found out about this last minute and is still interested, or maybe the timing just does not work for them, because I understand like 5 o'clock, if you have a 9 to 5, then right, 5 o'clock is not the most ideal time, but all the session recordings will be made available. We'll have Slack channels and some other ways to engage as well. So feel free to share this information with anybody else you might know, especially if they're interested in getting certified to work with the TechTown program. So with all that out of the way, I'll be able to get into a lot more details here, but we're going to just first start out by kicking this off. So Mac isn't here this evening, but you'll definitely be seeing him throughout the program, and most of you may be familiar with him. He actually is working as an entrepreneur in residence with TechTown. However, Mac and I are co-founders of an organization called Detroit Black Tech, which is pretty much the sponsor of this training program. So Detroit Black Tech is just a local tech nonprofit. Our goal is just like to inform our local developers here, especially our Black and brown developers, and really to highlight, the talent that we have in our city, in our region, and to really showcase technology and Black technology here in Detroit and beyond. So we have been doing this. I think we started the organization around 2000 I think our first event was in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. But we have grown the organization over time. And so not only do we do trainings and different events, we used to also host a lot of meetups in person. And we'll be getting back to that as the world is kind of getting a lot more used to going back to doing stuff in person. But we also have a big conference that we host every year called Hacking with the Homies. So we'll be having our next Hacking with the Homies conference in May. Obviously, this is not about that, but just to give you all a little bit of background about us. And so for me, as I mentioned, Mac works as an entrepreneur in residence with TechTown. And so with him having a background in technology and in software and having software companies that he owns, he's able to consult with founders on how they might approach the problems that they want to solve. And especially for those non-technical founders, what that process might look like and how to partner with a developer in that process. So me, on the other hand, I am a software engineer. I have been doing this since probably like 7-8 years now. I've been a software engineer. I also am an instructor. I've been an instructor the entire time I've pretty much been in software engineering. So mostly I teach coding boot camps and other types of training to help developers level up in various types of skills. Currently, I actually am working as a CTO with a startup that I actually met through the TechTown program. So there's a lot of opportunities if this is something that you really want to get into. I have actually worked with every cohort of the MVP developer program at TechTown. So I've worked with a bunch of various founders throughout this process. And it can be very awesome. It's a great experience. So not only do you have the potential to work with, like the upcoming cohort, but this is an ongoing program that runs, I would say, at least 3 to 4 times a year from what I've seen. So if you're, interested in potentially doing this more as a long-term gig, or you want to do more freelancing, there's definitely more opportunities besides just doing this initial cohort that you might be interested in. So anywho, with all that being said, there is going to, like I said, there's support for this class. What I would like for you all to do, actually, you don't even really have to join the link. I sent everybody that got a calendar invite, I sent an invitation to your email. If your email already came up as a member of the Detroit Black Tech channel, then you would have already gotten invited to the channel. But if not, then you can check your email. It won't come from Detroit Black Tech, it'll come from Slack, but you can check your email and see if you got a message from Slack, which would have happened literally at like 5:05 or 5:06, right before we were starting. So in this channel, this is where I will share all of the resources. This is where I will post links to the recordings as well. And I can see a few people have joined just off the invitation. So as we're going through the session, let me know, especially by the end of the session. If you didn't get an invitation, just let me know, and we'll make sure we wrap that up by the end of the night. But I want you all to have that. So if you have questions throughout the week, if you want to post resources or get any advice or anything like that, that's where we would be doing our communications. Okay. So the channel that you all should see is MVP Dev Training December 2023. And then let me make sure I can see the chat too. All right, so tonight I'm going to be talking about the idea of an MVP, just to make sure that we're all on the same page about what an MVP is and the relevance of an MVP, especially in this context. Then we'll look a little bit at some of the different alternatives that you may see, because even though we're using Adalo right now, this is not the only tool that we've used even in the TechTown program. So there's different pros and cons to different products. And so we'll look at that just briefly. Then we're going to jump right into the Adalo interface. So I'll give you all a demo. I'll show you how to build your first app in Adalo. We'll talk about what our homework is going to be. You will have a homework example for every single session. And I highly encourage you all not only to follow along with the examples that we're going to be doing here in the sessions, but really take the time and go and complete those homework examples, because at the end of this, if you are intending to pass the certification exam, honestly, the contents for the exam is really going to be based off of what you're experiencing here in the sessions. Okay, so people that may have been through the certification exam in the past could pretty much attest to this, but the exam is going to be, I'll talk a little bit about the exam at the end, but the exam is really designed to make sure that we are vetting folks that are interested in coming in and working with the program. And we know that, when you get paired with a founder at TechTown, that you're going to be able to work, independently. You'll be empowered with all the tools that you need, and you'll be able to be successful in getting that founder through their 6-week program and building out their MVP and seeing their idea come to life. All right, so I will also post the slides at the end of the session as well. So slides, recordings, and any different resource links, those are all going to Slack. So I'm going to get into the material now, but what I want to say is if you have any questions, feel free either just raise a hand in Meet. There is a little hand icon at the bottom of the screen. You can raise a hand so I can see that you have a question. You can also put questions in the chat if you need to. Okay. So what is an MVP? The term MVP or the acronym MVP, this stands for minimum viable product. Okay. So if you're a boot camp grad, for example, you may have heard of an MVP when you get to the end of a boot camp program, a coding boot camp in particular. Then the most likely thing is that you're going to have to build a project. And usually, when you build your project, you have all these different features that you're interested in. Some of those features may be qualified as MVP. So these are absolute necessity features that you need in order to have a functioning application and to pass or complete your program successfully. And then you might have something called like stretch goals, which are nice to have, but they're not essential. Okay, so that's something that you might be familiar with. Now, when we start talking about MVP in the startup realm, it's it's very similar, right? It's based off the same idea. So an MVP is when you have just enough features for your product to be usable by your early customers. So here's the thing. And a lot of the things I'm going to talk about is going to be a combination of the tech side, but also that more of that consulting side, working with the founders. So when you are developing an MVP and when your founder is focusing on what their MVP should be, the main thing you want to think about is what are the most essential features I need to prove that this is a product that people actually want and that they will pay for. Now, I can definitely tell you, like, if you have other goals, that's fine. But when it comes to working with TechTown in particular, in this type of program that we are supporting, it's all about whether people will pay for the product that you're making, right? So it's very, very essential to always keep that in the back of your mind. And in the 6 weeks that you would end up having with founders, and of course, this can be extrapolated out to any type of startup MVP environment, but for TechTown, in that 6 weeks you have with that founder, you're really trying to get down to the wire. What are the most basic things that features that we have to implement? And then the whole goal is that you want to get something in the customer's hands as quick as possible so you can prove or disprove whether your solution is an actual viable solution, right? And so for me, I've done a lot of freelancing work even before I was working with this program. And a lot of times what becomes a major problem, there's two things I would say, especially from what I've experienced. One thing would be that I would get a founder who wants to build out their app, but they really don't have the money to build a fully fledged app the way that they actually are intending to build it. On the other hand, you will have a founder and maybe they do have the money to get the app built out, but then you spend all of this budget, maybe even all the budget you have to get the app built out just to find out literally nobody cares about it. And so all that money is basically wasted and down the drain. And so this is the solution that the MVP is trying to combat, I would say. So we have this timeline is based off of phases in TechTown and how they do their process with founders. So they're going to go and they're going to submit an application to Start Studio. Start Studio has two different phases. So the first phase of Start Studio is I'm going to apply and come in and let them know what my tech idea is. Okay. So it can just be an idea. I don't have to have anything figured out. But I'm going to submit. And then if there's potential in my idea, then I might be invited into the discovery phase. Okay. So discovery is the first phase of Start Studio. And in discovery, this is going to start out with the founders going in, and it's the customer discovery. That's what the discovery is. So they're going to be going in and doing interviews with potential customers and figuring out the solution to a particular problem. Okay, so they're trying to solve a problem with a product, and they're doing all these different customer interviews. So once they make it through the interview phase and they have a viable option as far as the okay, sorry y'all, I got a 18-month-old, so he just be doing too much. But So yeah, once they finish the discovery phase, if they have a viable option as far as the potential solution that they want to build, then they're going to go into MVP. And the whole goal of MVP, it is 6 weeks long. However, in the 6 weeks that you have, you really only have 5 weeks because the sixth week is demo day, typically. In the past, that's how it's always been. So you have 5 weeks basically. And the whole goal, like I said, is they went through customer discovery. They talked to all these different potential customers, and they have come up with a what's the term I want to use? They've come up with a hypothesis that they want to basically test. So they'll come up with a potential solution, and then MVP is the time to build out that solution. So TechTown really wants that MVP to be revenue ready, which means by the end of MVP, the most basic thing that you should have is a version of their app with some type of features and some type of option for customers to pay for these features. That's the basic goal of MVP. So we will get a little bit into design, some design aspects, and luckily, Adalo has some nice features when it comes to design that, you don't have to get too into the nitty gritty details. But this is not about design. This is not about the prettiest app. This is about what is going to prove that people are going to pay for this and how much will they pay for it as well. All right. So this is the area we're targeting. So just for a little bit more context, though, you have traction and you also have the incubator phase as well. So traction is going to be the program after they come out of MVP that's going to allow them to get to recurring revenue. So it's a little bit more of, I don't want to call it scale because incubator is really, really more so for scale, but it's going from maybe a handful of customers to some type of stable recurring revenue source. And then from there, they do have the incubator phase, which is going to be more so getting ready for scale. So ops and maybe streamlining some things, maybe automating some things, etc. So hopefully that's helpful. Let me know, do you all have any questions about some of these different phases and how they apply to this MVP definition? All
Hi,
right.
Jessica. This is Chelsea. I have one question.
Yep, go for
I
it.
wanted to know if everyone that goes through the MVP program automatically goes to traction and the rest of the phases. Because, for example, I have one founder I work with, and we created the MVP, of course, but it's really not, it's revenue ready, but she doesn't have any customers at the moment. So I was wondering, in that scenario, do they go to traction and incubator automatically?
They don't go to traction automatically. So from what I've seen, and it can depend on what their business model is. So for example, in the founders that I've worked with, their business model was based off of having like B2B basically. So
Yes,
they
that was
needed
mine too.
three, yeah, so they needed to have at least 3 customers signed up and actually paying before they are accepted into traction. So there is a requirement that the companies have to get into that phase.
Okay.
Does that
You.
answer your question? Okay.
Yes, that does. Thank you.
Did anybody else have any questions about these? Thank you for asking that, Chelsea, because yeah, my experience is on the side of actually working with the founders and being a developer for the founders. So I've worked with a few different founders before. This and that's a whole nother subject, but I'm happy to talk about it for you all, just so that you can understand with TechTown in particular. You have different opportunities, right? So you could, like I said, the MVP program itself, it runs like 3 to 4 times a year. So whenever those cohorts are coming up, usually the cohort always comes off of a discovery cohort. So whenever those cohorts are coming up, then you have the potential to jump in and basically be assigned as a developer to one of the founders in those groups. But then like Chelsea was asking, you also have the potential, depending on how your founder and their company does throughout these phases, if you all like working together and if they are making progress, then you may potentially continue to contract with them throughout these other phases as well. So like for me, basically like full transparency and like how this is working for me right now, In the past, like I said, I've been a developer for every cohort, but the last cohort, I was really, I think my team and I were really aligned, and the product that they were building, I was really aligned with it. So there was just a lot, it was a lot of thought process that went into it, but they actually, invited me to become the CTO of their company. And so, yeah, like that's a potential. That's not a requirement, though. You could, like, as Chelsea was mentioning, you could potentially become a just a contractor with them and keep helping them build out their apps. Or again, it's not a guarantee that they're going to go to traction or that they're going to go to incubator. That you really want though that company to be focused on meeting their goals and their deadlines and their requirements for TechTown in order to be able to advance. So it's not your job to coach them through that process. That's where Mac and some other entrepreneur in residences come into place, because they will have coaches. Artavis, is that right? Did I say that right?
Yes, that's correct. Hi.
Okay.
So I did have a question. What if they decide to pivot their MVP?
It's going to be rare that the MVP is a pivot, because you don't even really have time to pivot. Usually, I would say that the whole goal of discovery is that they come out, they've already kind of figured out if they should pivot, if that makes sense. So it's possible, but it would have to be approved and really talked through and agreed upon with the coaches and all the other support that they have through TechTown. Let me know if you have more like context or want to dig deeper on that, but that's like the high level.
Okay. I was just wondering because, I guess getting into like designing and creating the prototype, and they decide that, hey, the main feature isn't going to be the main feature anymore.
Yeah, it's okay. So it sounds like you're talking a little bit more about, like, I don't know, do you have experience with working with like freelancing and working with founders in that way?
Well, I've been on teams as like a UX
Okay.
designer.
Okay.
So yeah, designing can be, a lot when you have to pivot the main idea.
Yes, that is very, very true. So yeah, the whole goal of like with tech, so we can talk about TechTown because that's what most of us are all like centered around. With TechTown, they're going to have coaches. So they're going to have a specific coach that's dedicated to them. And this coach has been working with them throughout the entire process before they came through MVP. So they have been working with them on their idea. And then they're going to have the coaches and the program runners in the MVP program. And what they are going to be focusing the founders on is you need to decide. It will already be really decided up front. Like in the first session that you have with them, it's going to be laid out. These are the key features that we have to build. And so one of the things that I'm going to encourage you all to do as the developer is that you're going to be the one that's going to be trying to make sure that you kind of help keep the reins. Like, because the founders, like when they have all these ideas, like you said, when you work with teams and people have ideas, they can tend to want to like go overboard, or, they're like, oh, well, this would be better or that would be better. And then, like I said, you only get 5 weeks. It's no time for any of that. And TechTown really doesn't like, they try not to let people fly off the rails. I'll say it like that. And I hope it's not coming off as like negative in any way at all. I'm not trying to make it seem like that. It's just like I've done freelancing before. I've worked with startups before. I've definitely been in those situations where the person is like, okay, now can you move this like 2 pixels? And you're like, CSS don't work like that. Like, you want me to move it 2 pixels? That's going to mean I have to do a lot of other shifting on the page. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's not what this is about. This is about, at the very front, we're going to decide what those key features are. The coaches and the program directors at TechTown are going to really make sure that those key features are something that people will pay for, are something that will satisfy the requirements to get them to demo day. And then it's going to be every week you are working to make progress towards those milestones so that at the end of the program at demo day, they will have an app. And at demo day, what we did at the last demo day, we were able to start doing demo day in person again. So we were able to have all of the founders showcasing their apps and have a bunch of different attendees coming in and looking at all the apps, trying them out, you know, asking questions, seeing if they're interested and things like that. So it's going to be much more of like, let's get it done, and we don't really have time to play around, you know. So we have to stay focused, and that's why I say, as a developer, you will find that you're the person that works closest with the founder. So you're going to be that one that's like, yeah, that sounds great, but let's put that on the stretch goals list, and let's stay focused on these key MVP requirements, because if we don't have these, we don't have anything. All right, so we can, and I would love to even chat more about that with y'all in the Slack channel and stuff like that. So let me know if y'all have other questions about that. So like I said, there is a goal for them with the MVP. So if they, so for example, it is a possibility that they could be bumped back to an idea. That's okay, but this is, you know, they're working with business coaches and mentors and things like that. They're getting a lot of vetting on their ideas. So the primary goal is just for us, especially as developers, we're trying to minimize the time and the effort that's wasted in that development process, right? So if we can get the most basic version of the app out, get it to customers, and see what the feedback is like, they might find out that they need to go back to the drawing board, and it's not the best idea, or again, that they have to pivot. But they wouldn't typically pivot like mid MVP. They would need to get an MVP, get it in the hands of their customers, and then see. The only real major pivots you'll probably see in MVP is if you find that it's not technically capable for them to do something that they're trying to do. That's like the only major things that I've seen. So there are a lot of different products and options in the MVP landscape. So obviously you have traditional software development as an option, but you also have no code and low code platforms. And one of the things that I really want to talk about here is just kind of like the pros and cons of those two things, because you know, for those of us that are here, again, we're on the developer side, and depending on how technical you are, you know, our first instincts a lot of times is to go for these very highly technical solutions and pick out a tech stack and like build everything from the ground up. But if you build a whole bunch of stuff and nobody wants it, that's literally a waste. And a lot of times, you know, that actually causes, you know, more issues than it does giving potential for that business to grow. So this is where the no code and low code platforms come into play, because those platforms, first of all, have come a very long way in recent years. And also with a no code and low code, it really allows us to get something built in as minimal time and effort as possible, but it still be fully functional and still be, you know, presentable and usable to the point where we can actually test out an idea before they go and, you know, build something from the ground up. So we have this is just a little chart. These are a few of the options we've specifically used with this program before. So Nixcode, Bubble, Adalo, and Glide. So this is more so just the pros and cons, or like, you know, a comparison chart and some of the things you would look at, because most of the time it's no code and low code, right? There's no code. So how do you build the app? That's going to be with a visual editor. So they all have visual editors, and they also all have built-in databases, although for the most part, most of them are going to have the ability to have some type of external connections as well. Back-end workflows would be a little bit more like custom back-end workflows, custom back-end functionality that you could do. And then API connection, like I said, they all have the ability to connect to APIs. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the program, actually, how you can leverage the APIs. That's actually something that we added to this 2.0 version. So for those of y'all y'all did this before, it's a couple people here that did this training before. It's gonna be fun because we are gonna get into the nitty gritty of some more advanced features working with these no code platforms. Custom code. So you can see not all platforms allow custom code, most do. And you have like workflow, event scheduling, things like that. When it comes to deployment and how that app is going to be made available for the end user, you have web apps, and then you also have mobile responsive apps. You have native mobile apps. Now, this is really where Adalo stands out, and one of the primary reasons that we ended up picking up Adalo, one of the reasons that TechTown was interested in picking up Adalo, especially with the mobile apps. I'll show you all how this looks, but Adalo has the ability to deploy a web app, to have a mobile responsive app as well. They have the PWA, Progressive Web App. So that's when you go to, say you go to go in the browser on your phone, you look at a web page and you can save it. It looks like an app when it's open and it can be saved to your home screen. That's what a progressive web app is. So Adalo has that feature, and Adalo also actually lets you deploy directly to the Android or Google Play Store and directly to Apple App Store. The only one here, at least at the time that we did this comparison, that allows you to export code would be Nix code. So like I said, with Adalo, they don't let you export the code, but what happens with Adalo is you literally have the ability to deploy directly to the app stores through their platform. So you don't need to export the code. And then templates, a lot of them, they all have different templates that you can start with, or even that you can use to just understand how to build more complicated features on their platforms. And then plugins, extensions, and third-party authentication as well. So like I would say, even though we don't have it checked off here, this has changed recently because Adalo has you can do Google sign-in on Adalo, and I'm looking into it to see what other third-party options we have, but you can do Google sign-in with Adalo. So that is actually a feature that they have now. And then plugins and extensions would more so be like in Adalo, for example, they have something called custom components. So if there's components that are not imported or included in their native platform, they actually have the ability for you to write some custom JavaScript code to build a component, or you can go into their component store and see if there are other components that other developers have built. So I want to highlight Nix code just because this is a Black-owned and Michigan-based business. So Sydney Davis is a founder at Nix Code. We highly support Sydney, and we love Nix Code. It's more so Adalo. The ability to work with Adalo has been something that we have seen success with, right? But we definitely support that, and I just want y'all to know that because Sydney is awesome and she has a great community as well. So she was highlighted here because she was actually a speaker at our conference earlier this year as well. She was one of our keynotes. All right, so we are going to be getting into doing a walkthrough of the interface. Now, what I want to do, since we probably will go like almost like I don't know, we might go another straight hour, might go straight to the end of the session, is just take a quick break. I'll say we could take like a quick 10-minute-ish break, like a 9-minute break. I'll start back at 5:50. If you have any general like questions, logistics questions, or anything, I can answer stuff like that. But I believe in breaks, especially when you have a session that's like 2 hours or more. So feel free to take a quick break. I'll put a little timer up if I can. And we'll start back up at 5:50 though. All right, y'all, we're going to jump back in. Let me make sure my mic is good. Okay. All right, so I am going to be jumping into Adalo. You can follow along with this. If you have not used Adalo before, the one thing I want to warn you of before we even create accounts is not to start a trial, because they do have like a trial that you can use, which will be for more advanced features, but you don't need that yet. And I think the trial, I want to say it's like 14 days or something. So I just want to give you that heads up, because, you know, usually it's like, oh, okay, cool, a trial, I'll start a trial. Don't start the trial, please, because then your time might run out before we get to the point where we need some of those features. However, in the meantime, we're going to be looking at the interface, okay? So I'm going to be doing a walkthrough to show you the different areas of the UI and what they are, basically what you can accomplish in those different sections. And then we're going to do a little lab as well. So let's see. We're going to be going to adalo.com. So again, Adalo, like, you know, this is our platform of choice. They, in addition to being able to work on your apps and having that interface and everything, I highly encourage you all to get familiar with the Learn section. There are a lot of different resources here that are very, very helpful. One of the things I also love is looking at the app templates. Okay, so I highly encourage you all as well to take some time looking at the different app templates that they have available. You will see like the potential in not only no code, but especially working with the Adalo platform, because there's a lot of like clone apps in here and particular use cases that are fully built out to show you the potential. But most of these, if not all of these, you can actually clone them. Like Adalo has this concept of a clone. So you can use any of these templates and basically copy the entire template and have a version of that template, a version of that app running, including all the databases and everything that's used behind the scenes for it as well. So I encourage you all to do that. And we can definitely talk a little bit more about like making this like if you want to do more freelancing and stuff, how you can make this like a side hustle or more so full-time thing, because there's a lot of potentials just in working with small businesses and startups to really get custom apps built for them that would normally have taken a lot more time, a lot more budget, a lot more you know a sweat effort, I guess you could say. So anyways, you can also look under the Learn platform, under the Learn tab, and find other resources as far as some of their tutorials and guides. Let's see. For Adalo, if you want to find the documentation, you want to look under the help docs. So that is always this is not the exact documentation, but the help docs, help.adalo.com is going to be the main place you want to go to look at how the different features work, if there's something you want to try that you haven't done before, or if you want to kind of see a walkthrough. So this is like the main documentation, but they do have some more technical documentation as well. But you just have to, if you're like me and you're used to like thinking that would be under the Learn section, it's under support. And then they do have a community forum as well. So you can go here and see like if people are asking questions about potential issues, but there is even like job boards and people share resources and things like that as well. So anyways, let's see. Okay, so I'm going to, I guess I'll see if I can start with a fresh, with a fresh account. I'm gonna sign up. I don't think I used this email before. All right, so I'm gonna sign up and just, just do the normal stuff you do when you sign up. Pick your password, your email. I'm in the right tab. Yeah. Okay. I'll save that. Yes, you can do all those things. Okay, and then I'm just gonna say, you know, I'm gonna be using it for a side project.
And
Doesn't matter.
Jessica, we can't see the screen where you're signing up at. We see the resources
Oh,
tab, by the way.
okay. No,
Yeah,
thank
there we
you for
go.
letting me know.
You're welcome.
Let me reshare. I want to reshare, and it's just gonna like do the whole screen, so I won't have to keep swapping tabs because I can see that happening multiple times. Yep, we'll call this entire screen. Alrighty, so I'm just going through the prompts, but yeah, so I just picked like worker side project, and I built for say future clients. I might start freelancing. Okay, so go ahead and build. I'm going to give like 30 more seconds if you want to get to this page. This is the first area that you're going to see whenever you create a new app. And it's going to be really, really important that you pick the proper resource when you are building here as well. Okay. So they're going to walk you through a couple prompts just to get your basic app set up. I would say you will always choose the mobile, tablet, and desktop option. This mobile only, that used to say legacy, they might have decided to keep the mobile only feature. However, you, especially again, like working with TechTown as well, you want to be able to have the mobile versions of your app available as well. Okay. So definitely always pick this option that gives you mobile, tablet, and desktop. So then from there, you will just have a choice of some different templates. I'm going to be starting with a blank template, but I'm going to pick blank mobile first. The reason why I'm recommending to pick mobile first is because typically a lot of the apps we do work with in TechTown, they're going to be going more so for a mobile app. You can pick desktop first if that is what you're trying to design for. But a lot of the times, like I said, most of the businesses, their main platform that they're targeting is like a mobile platform. And these, so with Adalo, you can have layouts for all of those different options, whether it be mobile, desktop, or tablet. However, you will be like primarily kind of designing in one, and then you'll be able to go and have some secondary, tertiary, basically designs for the other platforms, right? So when you design for the mobile first, the mobile view is going to be our default. And then a lot of our designs and layouts are going to be, you know, more so geared towards mobile. So for example, mobile navigation versus desktop navigation. Those are very different visually. There are advanced options here. We're going to talk about these a little bit later in the program. So some of the advanced options would be, one of the main advanced options is that you can actually share databases between apps. So when we get into talking about like two-sided marketplaces, a two-sided marketplace, for example, you know, if I have an app that's supposed to match personal trainers with clients, which fun fact was one of our certification exam apps. But say you have an app and you want to match personal trainers with clients, right? That's a two-sided marketplace. That's what I would describe as a two-sided marketplace, where like the personal trainer may have their app and they have their features and they have something that you want to do for them. And then on the flip side, you have the end users and they have an app and they have some features you want to build for them. One of the options that you would have actually is to share a database. I don't have that option only because this is my first time going through on this account. And so there's no other apps that are set up, but you could do that. So like with an app that I'm building right now, we have two apps and they share a database. So all the admin and business features are in one app and all of the end user features are in another app, but all the data is shared basically. So anyways, that was under the advanced features. And then they're just going to ask you for a name. You can pick a primary and secondary color. I'm not going to get too fancy, but I feel like I should change these just to prove that, you know, can I go like white? I don't know. I don't know why I ever try to change these. I'm not that creative with the colors anyway. All right, so what are we gonna call this? I might reuse this. I'm calling it the Dev World. Anywho, so I'm going to create my app, and those, that little prompts, you'll always have those whenever you create a new app. So in the future, when you want to create another app, just go here under the drop down at the very top, and you will see the option to create a new app. It'll take you through the same prompts. Now, one of the beautiful things about Adalo is that they have user features baked in, user login, log out, sessions, and everything like that. So when you created that app, you would see that there's already a welcome screen, there is a login screen, and then you have sign up, and you also have the home screen. There's nothing on the home screen right now. It has a navigation bar at the top. This is the top navigation, and this is a mobile. This one is in mobile first, right? So I do have the option to change to a desktop view or a tablet view, so you can do custom. You could do custom layouts for those different options, but you're going to be in mobile view by default. Do it this way. All right. So here, let me do this in a strategic way. Let's look at the interface first. Go back. So up top, when you see the plus sign, this is components. That's what Adalo calls basically all of the different interface features that you can add to your app screen. So you have components, and that's under the plus sign. This is also where you would add a new screen as well. So like, for example, I'm going to be showing this, but like in my case, I have 4 screens. These were created for me by default. But then if I want to add any additional screens, I'm going to find those under the plus sign as well. This is also where you would see for components, this is where you see all the different component options you have. So these are the native components that are built into Adalo. These are not the only options you have. Again, you can actually go into the marketplace, and in the marketplace, you'll see some more component options. These, if you want to use any of these, you can install them into your app, and you'll be able to use them as well. There are free components here, and then there are premium components as well. So this is also, fun fact, this is a nice little side hustle. If it's something that you're interested in getting into, there is documentation around it. I'll talk about it, later in the program, but there's the potential. If you see like a component that could be really useful and there isn't one already built, you could literally build a custom component with some JavaScript. You can submit it to the store, and people can pay to like purchase that component and use it in their app. So that's just a nice little other option for you. But I do recommend, if there's something you want to do and it's not a native component, come check the marketplace first, just to see if it's something that you can work with in here. You have some of the, they have the templates in here as well. They have integrated that. But what I wanted to show you really is like, you'll have like the most used, these are the most common components here. So lists, forms, images, and then you have the app bar, buttons and text. If you want to go into the full breakdown of all of the components you have access to, then you'll see you have navigations, lists are here. There's a bunch of different types of lists. And you can make a custom list as well. So with the list, they're basically, if you think about like kind of how React components, or you might know the concept of like cards, like this card list. So lists are typically going to have like at least a few, it's going to be a repeated copy of like a few specific type of components. Like the simple list is an image. in a circle, and then it's probably like a headline, title, and then like a little subtitle, versus a card list that has a little bit more information. And then they have slightly different layouts. And then if any of these doesn't fit your use case, then you can do a custom list as well, where you'll be able to go in and customize which components are going to be repeated for each of your items. You have buttons. The buttons are pretty straightforward. This button here actually has an icon in it, so you can change what the icon is, and you can also change the contents of the button, and then of course where it links to. The action button is one of those like more so hover over type of buttons, and then the icon, so it's just a pure icon. They have a bunch of icons baked in that you can choose, and then you have the toggle as well. So then the simple components would be a couple different shapes. Web view, which is basically like an embedded web page, and then like images and text. In my experience, these shapes are very limited, but you can do with them you can do with them what you can. Like I said, this is not really about the design aspect. This is more so about the functionality aspect. So you try to work with what you have here. The forms and fields are really helpful. These lists, I'll get much deeper into some of these, but I just kind of want to give you all a high level overview. A lot of these lists, they already have the ability here. I'm going to show you one just to give you an example. A lot of these lists, where is it? They already have the ability to add a search field to them by default, right? So if I use like a lot of the built-in lists, then I can just toggle on the list search option, and I'll be able to do search through those list items very, very easily. But if you have to do something custom, and you want to do search, then in that case, the let's see, forms and fields, the text input is going to become very crucial, because the text input would be, you'll have the ability to grab this value and write some logic that'll search based off what's in this field. So those are a couple of different ways that we'll see how search can be implemented. You have your typical forms, and these are examples of the forms. The sign up and the login forms are already implemented. So you can see they have their own components inside of them. So the form component, but the beauty of like a lot of the native components that's built into Adalo is you have the configuration options for them as well. So all the different fields that you have, all of that configuration is inside of each of those components. Then they're all nested. And let's see. So that's the main things that you're going to see in the components. Branding is more so like just the basic colors that you want, your color palette, and then you can choose your fonts as well. I wonder, like, yeah, you can use Google Fonts. Basically, it's like all Google Fonts. I'm gonna, like I said, don't start your trial yet, please, because you will need it later, and I highly recommend just waiting for that portion. So anyways, you can just keep the defaults, or use the couple options that we have here. That's fine, but you can just basically do heading and body. That's it. Under the two little screens, this is where you will see a list of all the screens that you have. If you want to kind of click through them that way for any reason, you can also zoom in and out on this palette just to kind of get around. What I usually like to do on this screen is I really like to condense these down like immediately, like make them way closer together, because it's like, I don't know, it's no reason for them to be that far apart. And then when you bring new screens in, you can pretty much do the same thing. So that way now I can see everything at once. But like I said, you also have the ability to just go under your screen so you can see these. There's some other information you can see for your screens as well. You can click at the very top where the name of the screen is, or you can see this option whenever you click a screen that not only will you see the components on that page, you'll see any actions associated with that page. And then, so actions could be links to other pages. It could be whether you're going to do any type of database actions. You can do some notifications because these are designed for mobile apps. And then this is where some of your third-party integrations is going to live as well. Available data, we will definitely be getting into this. Available data is going to be showing you any data that is available to you on that screen that has been passed on from a different screen. And I'll get a lot more into that. And then what I want to show you is you can change the name of the screens, which is helpful, but you can also see that there are some screen navigation types. These are a few designations. Either it can be a normal screen, it could be a welcome screen, or it can be a home screen. So the welcome screen is going to be the first screen a user sees if they're not logged in, versus the home screen, which is the first screen a user sees if they are logged in. So like a welcome screen would be like if you want to do like a little onboarding visual for a new user, then you'll have a welcome screen for them. But then everybody else will basically, usually the home screen, if you're logged in, it'll take you straight to your home page. If you're not logged in, but you're not a user, then usually you'll just send them straight to sign up. So there's options, but then these little dots up here, you can delete these. And then edit styles, this is something you can get into as well. So if you need to change like the background, like how this sign up has a background color, you can do things like that, make images, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to make sure you're seeing all these little details because there's a lot in this interface, even though I think their interface is pretty minimal and clean. We are going to get into the database section. So you can have collections in Adalo, and for the most part, as long as you don't have anything super complicated that you're trying to do, these collections are pretty powerful. So the first collection that is created for you is the users collection. I don't have any users in here right now. We will have one in a second, but I can actually do view and edit records. And this is what's going to allow me to actually preview any of the data that is inside of my database or my collection, as well as to edit any of those records. So I can add a user if I wanted to. And then there's some other options here. One of the really nice things is importing and exporting data. And then here is where the actual documentation option would live. So if you want to see the API documentation, they do have some more documentation. So I'll get those links to you all. So these are some of the properties that are already implemented, and then you could add additional properties. So they have a few different data types that you can work with, and then you can also make relationships. They can do one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many relationships in the databases. And you can have as many of these collections. You can add additional collections. So we have time to talk about collections in another session. Under the settings, you are going to see your app name. You can have a description here. So on the public share page, which I'll show you all, if I wanted to share this app with someone, then the description, I could have like the ability for the description to show there. Let's see, the app icon is going to be the icon that actually shows up either if they have the mobile app downloaded or if they use the progressive web app, they can save it to their home screen. And so in that case, it needs an app, it needs a logo. So that's where that app icon comes in. You have display settings. This is only if you can see the screen connections or not. I like to see these because this is showing you data flow. App access. So once we upgrade, we'll be able to choose between web app, Android, and iOS publishing. And then copy and delete. If you want to copy your app, you can. And then API keys. So this is a premium feature. You can copy the key for Adalo, like your actual Adalo app, and use that API key externally. All right, so publishing options are here. We'll talk about those later. And then they also have app analytics, just some basic stuff. And then the version history, that's something we'll talk about later as well. So I'm going to build a little Hello World app. Let's see. I'm looking at the homework. So homework is going to be admin screen. And security. Okay. All right, let's play around with this. So I want to show, like, I'm gonna do like I'll do a little bit of some different features that I think will be just kind of cool to preview. I've already built the app, obviously. So for the most part, the UI is pretty intuitive. There are some things that are a little quirky about it, but the UI is pretty intuitive. So like, you see a text box. If I click on it, I can see all the information about it. If I double click on it, then I can provide some other details. Let me actually do this. Give me a second, because I'm going to bring up my notes so I can see what features I want to show you all. By the way, I can't see the chat at the moment, but if you all have questions or anything, just let me know. Share. Okay. Okay, so I do want to show y'all how to create screens and do some navigation. So we'll include that. All right, so let's just do some basic updates. I'm just going to change the app name so you can double click on the text fields. I'm not going to interfere with the user log in, log out, sign up, sign out, or anything like that. All of that is already set up for me, and it's very convenient. So I'm going to leave it how it is, but I'm going to double click into these and just edit them. If you want to change any of the formatting, you can by using the little, what's it called? I don't know what that little palette, paint palette. You can use that just to change the font, the boldness of the font, as well, the alignment and the color itself. So I could decide that I want, it's really ugly. I wouldn't do that, but I can do that. If I want to undo, I can, like Control Z, Command Z, depending on if you're on a Mac or Windows. And then this is one quirky thing. So say I'm like, I want to copy and paste an element. If I click on this login, I can, click here. Then I can Command C, because I'm on a Mac. Then if I Command V, it doesn't look like anything happened, but it just basically pastes directly on top of the original. Okay, so if you Command C and you Command V and you don't see anything, don't keep doing it over and over, because then you're gonna have like multiple. They just pile up on top of each other. Okay, so like if you want to do copy and paste, either just click the thing you want to copy, Command C, Command V, and then you have to drag it away. I could drag it to another screen, for example. Or if I want it to be on the other screen, then what I'll do is I'll click on it. I'll Command C, I'll copy it, and I'm going to click onto the new screen, right? So I'm copying this from login to sign up. So I'm clicking here, copy, go to sign up, click the sign up name, and then Command B, and it'll paste onto that current screen. So that's the those are two things that you can do. So that way I could just like delete that one, click here. And the reason why I like to do this, like if you click on the screen on the destination screen and then you paste it, it'll paste with the exact same alignment versus having to try to figure out how to align it. Because the only thing I don't really like about Adalo is if you are going to say you want to replicate the same thing on different screens, it can be hard to align them equally. All right, so I got, excuse me, I have those updated. Now I pretty much got a blank screen here. So let's look at the navigation. This is the top navigation. So if I look at the components and I go to the navigation components, this is considered the top navigation. So this would basically be a little icon here, and then this hamburger icon turns into a full menu. That's what these other menu items are for. So let's preview this really quick just so I can show you what this is looking like. So I'll come into my app and I can either sign up or I can hit already have an account and then I'll be able to sign in. So I'll put an email and a password and I'll put my name. Adalo does give a username as well, but they don't have the username showing on the sign up page by default. If I want to change that, I can. I'll show you all how to, but I can just sign up for now. And then it logs me in. So obviously I don't have anything to look at. So there's nothing up here. Yeah, you can show me notifications. So I click the hamburger icon, right? I click the 3 lines. And now this is where the additional navigation menu items are. So item 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They have their text. They have their icons that's associated with them. And then you see up top the icon here or the image here and the text that says hello there. So now you have a little bit more reference when you see we have a title. And in this case, the title is the logo. I don't have a logo yet, so I could upload one or I could use one from a database as well. Like I could use like the users, they can have like a profile image. So maybe we'll implement that, but I want to show you all the rest of these. So menu style. This is going to show me a preview of how the menu is showing. So I can change the color scheme if I want to. Right. Inactive, primary. If it's left aligned, center aligned, right aligned, whichever options I want. I can put icons on the left or at the top. And then active indicator style. So either line or background field. So the line is this little like line right here off to the left that shows that that's the active page versus a background field would be the entire item that is active is filled in the background. So it's up to you, you know. So these are some of the visuals that you have, and any of the elements you usually have the ability to do different rounding options. Okay. Boop, boop, boop. So if you don't want any of these menu items, like if you only wanted 2 items in your menu, then just go to the other options and turn them off. You can disable them completely. So I can disable 3 through 5. I want a home and I can change the icon for the other screens as well. I want something like learning based. maybe like a book or computer. Because, you know, I teach coding, so I'll go with like a book. I mean, a laptop. So I can change that item, and then I can just give these like their own appropriate text, right? So, and then courses. Okay, and then let's go up here where it says hello there. I want to see top navigation, layout, title, menu. Oh, here it is. Okay, profile image. We don't have an image right now, but we are going to add that to our database. But what I want to do is show y'all how magic text works. You'll be able to take advantage of magic text. Basically, if you think about any type of placeholder text that you would want to use, like some kind of data that you have stored in your database that you want to display in the app, that's where magic text comes in. So instead of saying hello there, I want to greet the user. So let's say, hey, and I'll put comma, I'll put a space. Now I'm going to click the magic text. When you click magic text, wherever the wherever the cursor is, that's exactly where it's going to get inserted. So I'm going to click that, and I'm going to say I want to use the logged in users full name. So then it should say hey, and then whatever the person's name is. Okay, so that's magic text. So the more options you have in your database, the more data you're going to have access to here. But then they also have some other nice features, like you can get the current time, start of the day, but there's a lot of date stuff in here. So if you want to do anything time related, you can typically get those options here under this menu. And then you can do custom formulas. The custom formulas, they'll have its own little box, and then here under the it's like the formula button, I guess. This is where you can get some specific information that you can use in your formula. So there are some math features hidden under here. I've used this mostly for location. They have some nice distance calculations. Because you can have the ability to get the user's location data from their device. And so I've used this for distance, right? I've done you can do the latitude and longitude of the source, and then the latitude and longitude of the ending destination. You can pull those. You can actually pull those from the database and pass those into this formula, right? So there's some fun things you can do there. If you do custom formulas, singular prefix is what icon or what text you want to prefix the singular of a particular number. Plural prefix is the same thing, but just for plural. So like, for example, you can just customize how you are referring to something. So one item versus two items, right? So for one item, I would just say the suffix item, and then the plural suffix will be items, right? So you can just play around with that, but just giving you a little taster. I'm not going to leave the custom formula. I'll just delete it, but you can pretty much play around with the formatting however you want. I'm not going to put too much here, but you can choose to if you would like to. All right, so we have our profile image. So I want to be able to give the user the ability to do two things, because we noticed when you sign up, you don't have, and we don't have the ability to sign out. So we'll do that. We noticed when you sign up, you don't have the ability to pick your username. So I'm going to enable username in the sign up form. And then I am also going to add a profile image to the database. So let's go to the database first, since we're already kind of in this area. So I'll go back to the database, right? Go to the database tab, and I can see the users collection. Now I have one record, right? So this is my user that I created, but notice this user doesn't have a username since I didn't have the ability to do usernames when I signed up. That's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the sign up form. So in the sign up form, it has the email, the password, the full name. So these are just based off of what's available in the database. So let's go to the form component of the sign up. So you can see that this form is attached to the user's collection. So forms will always be attached to a specific collection. And then I can ask what I want the form to do. So you can do you can do login, you can do sign up, and you can also update the logged in user in this case if you wanted to. So if you wanted to give the user, in this case, I could give the user another form, and that would be the form that would let them like change their username or change their password. Here are my fields, and there's only 3 visible fields here. So I'm going to click the plus sign for visible field, and it gives me the username option. So now I can add the username to the field. Right, so this is based off of the fact that these are the properties I have in that database. So if I was to delete like 2 of these and then I click add visible field, now you can see I have those 2 options. So this list will, whatever you see here will be based on whatever fields you have not made visible. But it's exclusive of what's available in that. I don't need your help, thank you. Thank you. But the form fields are exclusive to what's available to you in the database for that particular collection. All right, so I'm on my form. Oh my goodness. Thank you. I don't need your help. Okay, here's my form. Get out of mobile layout. I don't need that. Go back to setup, go back to my form, go back to my fields, go to add visible field. I can add my username, and then I can add the full name. It's kind of overlapping, so I'm going to make this form a little bit bigger, and I can move these down here. Oops, undo. There we go. I care a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now the user field is enabled on the form. So if I'm going to close these just for good measure, but if I go into preview, I guess I won't be able to see it yet. I have to be able to sign out. So I'll show you how to add the sign out option. But we do have our username now, so that's an option. The next thing we wanted is to be able to see the user, for the user to be able to have an image. So let's go back to the database and let's add a property. This is going to be an image. So the only data types we have, location is a premium feature, but then you also have files, images, date. Then there's date and time. So you can have an exclusively date or date time. True, false, which is Booleans basically, and then numbers and text. So I'm going to add an image and call this a profile. Or let's just call it the avatar. I just want it to be one word. So the type is an image and it's an avatar. It's called avatar. So you can even see now my previous user, they now have an avatar field. It's just empty. And if I went back to my form, under the fields, now I would have the ability to upload your avatar when you create your profile as well. Okay. And you can't really see the rest of the, like if it runs off the page, it kind of just shows at the bottom, but we should be able to scroll to those. So we have both of those options now. The last thing I'm going to go ahead and do then is go back to the navigation bar. Let's go down to the bottom where it says profile image. And we can choose for that image to come from the database. And then it gives us this option, use the logged in user's avatar. And then we can give a backup. If there's no image, show a placeholder or don't show anything at all. I think I have like a placeholder image on my computer somewhere. There's a placeholder. Right, so I can have that background, and if I want to completely square, I can round it or I can do a circle. I kind of like it that way. And I'm changing the divider. But yeah, you know, I'm not gonna like play with the styling too much, but just to show you how you have some options here. All right, so then we did all of those. So now the next thing I want to show you really quickly is how to make a logout option. So let's see, in our menu, home is an option and courses is an option. So let's go to menu item 3. I'm going to re-enable that. And I'm going to end up giving it an action. So let's do this. This is going to be the log out. So I'm going to delete the icon that's there. So you don't need to have icons in your menu if you don't want to. But I'm going to go, here's log in and log out. You can use arrows if you want to as well, like back, forward, whatever. But these are more common for that people will be used to. So log out. So I'll pick that icon. I'll change this to log out. And then I'm going to give this a action. So link is the most common action you'll probably give your buttons. So you can link to a screen, you can link to a feature, which we're not going to really get into that right now. You can link back, right? So every time, obviously, when you make apps and things, you have to, all your navigation, you have to wire it up. So if I wanted the user to be able to link back on that screen, then I would actually have to use this back option, which works really well. But then you can do login, sign up, and you can actually attach those. So under more, you can also find user login. So under here, you can see login. Here's where you see log out, but then also sign up and forgot password are options as well. So we don't really need to implement a lot of this stuff because it comes by default when we set our app up, but log out is one of the features that's not shown. So I'm going to choose to log out when you this button here. You can do advanced features on these. So like, for example, I can say that this should always happen, or I can say it'll happen sometimes and I can have some logic. But, you know, for now, this is whenever you click log out, it's always going to log you out. That's it. So let's go back into our preview so I can actually log out. We can see the sign up screen, etc. So let's see. Notice now it shows me my name, of course. My visual changes have taken effect. And now I'm going to log out from the app. It logs me out, but it doesn't really like take me back to the screen. So that's another thing I would want to do. I'm logged out, right? So if I close it and I go to preview again, I'll go back to seeing the sign up screen. But I would need to explicitly state, go to menu item 3. Not only do I want to log out, but I want to link them back to the login screen. Right, so you can add up these different click actions. Other things that you would commonly do is like create elements in the database or update elements in the database. So, all right, so we are back here. If I sign up now, you can see I have much more options for the sign up. So I can have my, I'm not sure. No, I didn't. I think I used this email last time. All right, so now I can give myself a username as well. And then I can pick a photo for my avatar. Use this one. It's my little icon. And I can sign up. So now when I click down, I can actually see my profile picture. I can log back out. It's not link. It's not taking a link. That's okay. It should that should update. All right. I know I've been going through a lot, so let me know what questions do you all have right now before I show you a little bit more about navigating to other screens. Any questions? Is this like going well? Gonna process it later. Okay. Little feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, it's going really well.
Okay, cool. And hopefully for the folks that have done this before, you can see I'm going into so much more detail than we talked about even when we did this session in the last because I just think there's so many layers to it. Let's write that. Give me like 1 minute and 30 seconds. All right, maybe less than 1 minute and 30. Okay, so I want to show you all how to link to a screen and something else I really wanted to show. Oh, we can make a let's make a screen that allows the user to edit their profile because my first user doesn't have the ability to see like their image and their profile image, and they don't have a username. So let's make a new screen. So when I click a new screen, I always pick the blank mobile first, but there's other screen options, but most of these other screen options are all designed for mobile layouts, okay? Like you can kind of see a lot of these are really, really, really involved, but you have a lot of options that are kind of pre-made if you wanted to use those. And then if you for some reason had to do your sign up and log in from scratch, you have those here as well. So anyways, I always pick a blank mobile first. I'm going to name this screen login, sign up, account, create a screen. And there's a few things I'm going to do here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the navigation over. And you'll find yourself doing this with the navigation bar. Once you kind of have a navigation and you have it filled out, instead of creating a new navigation and having to reconfigure all this, just copy the old one. So again, if I copy it, I'm going to make sure I click on the account screen just so it'll paste in the exact same space first. Or it'll paste in the exact same space instead of pasting on top of the original. So I have the same navigation here now. What else should I do? I will update the menu item 1 because menu item 1 was the home screen. We're now on the account screen. So let's go to menu item 4. Let's make this, oh wait. Oh, that's a calendar. Okay, that's fine. I was going to say usually the 5th, a lot of times the 5th one is like a profile one. Anyways, let's go here, and for profile, it's really up to you, but they have a lot of options for us. See, like account. I guess I'll just use this one. All right, so account box. So that's my icon. Name is account. Or I guess for the user, I'll call it profile. So, you know. Okay, and then I need to. Let's be consistent. There you go. I need to make this active, right? So that visually the user will know this is the screen that they're on. So what I can do is at the top of the navigation, let me see, where's the configuration? Let's go to where it says top navigation, title, menu style. One of these has the menu. One of these has the default. Hold on.
Yeah, I think you were in menu style. If you go back to menu style and then active menu item, like scroll down a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right there. Yep.
Why do I always struggle to find that one thing? Okay, thank you. Yep, that's the one. The active menu item. So we can just pick whichever one. So on every screen, make sure you update that visually. So that's going to be menu item 4. Okay, so we did those. And then I could do things like menu item 1. I can give it a click action and it'll link back to the home screen because menu item 1 is home. Right? What else? Let's add a form. So I'm going to come in here under components. I'm going to click a form and I can add the form in. It's kind of ugly. So the first thing that they're going to ask me when I configure the form is what collection it belongs to. Like I said before, forms always belong to collections. If you haven't, if you want to use make a new collection, you can do 2 things. You can either make the collection first and then go and do the forms for it, or you can make the forms. And when you make the form, it'll give you the option to make a new collection. So you can do it on either side, which is convenient, but I'm going to go ahead and attach this to my users. And then we have those defaults. So either this logs the user in, it signs the user up, or it updates the user. So I'm going to do the update. The update option gives me, just by default, it just goes ahead and puts all the fields in there. Although maybe I don't want them to change certain aspects, then I could just disable them. They might not have the option to change their username. I might want that to just be permanent. That's fine. I could just delete that from the field so they wouldn't have the ability to. But that would defeat the purpose of me doing this example because my other user doesn't have a username at all. So here's the form. I have all the fields I want. So this will basically allow them to edit any of these items they have. Only thing I'm going to say is I'm going to delete the avatar and then I'll put it back so that it can be at the bottom of the list. So whichever order you add them in is the order they're going to show up. So like if you want it, yeah, if you want to if you want to sort them in a certain order, add them in that order. I want the full name, email, username, password, and then avatar. That's just my, my personal choice, right? Which is in a different order than a slightly different order than what I had before. So this will be giving them the ability to do their update. Okay, let's go to the form. Let's see, should I do layout? I want to change. Let's do the styles. Yeah, under fields, we can edit styles. So I could give like, does it have, yeah, the fields all have borders, color, accents. Like the fill is this. This is kind of ugly, but put that back to white. So yeah, I could change those. I guess I'll leave them like that. That's fine. So that form is completed. We have the ability to link back to our home page. So let's jump back into let's do share. So share, difference between preview and share. Share is basically what you like your quote unquote deploy changes, which we'll have more control over in the future when we have like the premium features. So you can have share be the version of the app that's quote unquote live. That would be production basically. And then the preview is like just the changes that you're working on. So share should be something you share with people that are going to use the app versus preview is more so for internal. So let's say I already have an account and I'm going to log in with the first account I created. Hopefully this is the info for it. Now I'm logged in. Yes, sure. It's a lot going on because so it's mobile. It's mobile first, but it's also responsive. That's fine. So you can see home, and then I didn't add it to that. That's funny. I didn't add it to this. Yeah. Nope. I gotta add the account to this other navigation. Menu item 4. Account. Search. This is the only tedious thing to me about the navigations. I have to like match them all. And sometimes I forget to do this. So add an action, link this to the account page. Very essential, y'all. Don't be like me. All right. So let's go back to share. I'm already signed in. So now I can see my account option. When I click on it, I'm here. I can add myself well, I can't use that username no more. I can use this one though. And I can give myself an avatar. Let's go for a profile pic. And then update the user. Oh, I have to put my password in. I don't have to make the password required either. I can I can change that just so like you don't have to put your password if you don't want to change it. But now my user's updated. You can see I have a little icon now. And then we'll log out and it takes me back to the login screen. Okay, so we have like 4-ish minutes left because I could go on forever, but I want to go ahead and take a second to talk about the assignment that I want you all to focus on for this week. And then I also want you to let me know what questions you have. So let me bring this back. So for your homework, you will notice that typically when we do give the homework as well, the assignments we give is going to be a little bit of maybe what we have done, and it's also going to stretch you into trying something new. Usually the something new that you're trying is going to be a preview for what we're going to go through next time. And then when we start our next session, we will start out by asking someone to demo their assignment, asking questions about the assignment, and then I'll demo the assignment and just kind of like talk through the details if you all had any questions or ran into issues. So we'll always have a homework review at the top of the sessions moving forward. So what I would like you to do is to add an admin screen with a list of all the users. And what you will add is the name of the user, their username, and then the date that they created or were registered to the app. Okay, so you're creating a new screen and you are adding only these specific elements. So you're going to be making a list. I really want y'all to try out playing with these lists. I will go into very full details with lists because lists can get really they have a lot of detail or a lot of features that is kind of hidden. But you will get to explore playing with lists. And then the other thing you'll get to explore is seeing how you can limit the access to that page. So only your username should be able to access that page. Okay, so if any other username is logged in, they shouldn't have the ability, but then if you are logged in, you should be able to navigate to that page. Okay. Let's see. I didn't mean to do that. Actually, it says here, put a link to the admin screen on the homepage. So I guess everybody can see the link. But whenever anyone clicks the link, only that page will only show up for you. So these are the homework features. If you have, I will put some bonus features too, because if you already did this before, that one is kind of similar to last time. I'll put some bonus challenges there for folks that might have done this before. So certification exam. This is going to be available starting immediately after the session ends, because Christmas is going to be kind of like coming right up, but between the end of the session and the new year, the end of the session and the new year, you'll be able to sign up for a session to do a certification exam. So certification exam will be 90 minutes. You will be given a specific app requirements that you need to implement, and you will want to complete those to the best of your ability within that time frame. At the end of your certification exam, basically, once you're finished building out your app, then I will have you demo the app to me. I'll record the demo just for our records, and then your goal is to get 85% or higher just to pass the exam. And so the main thing I want you all to focus on, again, this is why I'm going to say, hopefully you are following along today. If you didn't, go back and watch the recording and spend some time actually doing this, because one of the things we really want to make sure of is that you are ready to get in front of the founder and get work done. And if you're not familiar with the platform, if you're not familiar with how to implement specific features, you don't have to know everything. No developer knows everything, but you really want to be comfortable with the tool, especially like I said, you really only have 5 weeks and we don't work outside of session hours. So that's a warning for you all. For the MVP developers, all of our services are rendered during the session hours for MVP. So you will be working while you're on Zoom with your founders. You're not going to be like able to do as much time as you want outside just to kind of figure things out. So you want to be really comfortable with the platform and all of the different items that we're going to have you doing in the exam is going to make sure that you know how to do some quintessential features. That being said, everything that you will need for the exam will be covered in the material that we go through. So focus on your homework, focus on those lab sessions. Like I said, if you didn't get to follow through, go back and watch the recordings. I'll put those in Slack for you. And you will have a follow-up, probably a follow-up assignment at the end of the class as well, like the last session. And that's going to be important too. All the material is important for the certification. So anywho, we will be catching up next week, yeah. But you can reach out to us in Slack. Let me know if there are any questions that you all have before we wrap up today. Or if you have any feedback or thoughts that we can incorporate before we go into week 2.
Do you have a time frame on when you'll be posting the video, just in case we need to go back and watch it?
I'm going to actually try to upload it as soon as we get done. So it should be up tonight. It just depends on how long it'll take YouTube to upload, but it should be up tonight. I'm going to literally do it as soon as we get off of here. I'll give you all an update in Slack as well. So just keep an eye out in Slack and you'll see, I'll let you know when the video is up and I'll put the link in there for you. Any other questions before we wrap up? All right, y'all. Well, I appreciate it. If you can, what I will encourage you all to do is just drop a little intro in the Slack channel. You know, let us know who you are, what your experience with development is, and you know what brought you to this program. So we can all kind of get to know each other as well. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and end it here, and we'll see you all next week for session 2.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks.